Then tell us, what has become of the driver and how did his first appearance go?
Good afternoon, Aaron. Well, the driver's been released. That decision was taken by the head of detectives of the South African Police Service. It was taken after the docket was taken from the Boksburg police station, where the truck driver had been kept overnight for an assessment at the headquarters of the South African Police in Gauteng. Once the docket arrived at the headquarters of the SAPS in Gauteng, they took a decision that there wasn't enough evidence to charge him and formally send that docket to the NPA. Now, this information has just been relayed to us by the senior prosecutor here at the Boksburg Magistrates Court. And she's revealed that the NPA at no point received that docket from the SAPS. This is quite a turn of events. Earlier, we were led to believe that the suspect was brought to this court building. It turns out that they've released him before he was even essentially brought into the court, and that the SAPS believes that there is no case against the 32-year-old man who parked that truck under the Boksburg Bridge. This has come as quite a surprise for members of the community who have gathered here. There's been no further information regarding the decision taken by the head of detectives in Gauteng to release the suspect. The media here at the Boksburg Magistrates Court have been told that there won't be any appearance of any suspect for that case today, and they can't tell us any more than that. We'd have to ask the South African Police on what basis that decision was taken. Aaron, since we last spoke, there have been a number of political parties that have gathered here, community representatives who wanted to show up here for different reasons. And of course, they've also been taken aback, surprised by this latest development that the suspect has been released. Let's talk to some of them. The first person is Mr. Marius de Vos. He's the ward councillor for the ward where the accident happened, also the ward here at the Boksburg Magistrates Court, representing the Democratic Alliance. Mr. de Vos, what do you think of the decision to release the truck driver?
Good morning, Golden, and to the listeners. Look, to me, it is horrific. It's like I can't even express myself. The way I feel. It is, in my view, absolutely a slap in the face of the affected families who lost loved ones in this horrific blast. To release a perpetrator who was on the scene. There were eyewitnesses, that saw what happened there, and the perpetrator has been released on technicalities here, In my view, it is unbecoming. People are still reeling from their grief, It's a travesty of justice, in my view.
Let's get the view of EFF Councillor Ntabiseng Chabenga. She's in the Nkuruleni Council, here to give us their view. The EFF had raised questions about the training of the driver initially. Surely this is an unexpected development. What do you think, Councillor?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. As the EFF, we are very shocked with the recent developments. It's very clear that, for one, in the first place, to be able to drive a truck of that nature, that carries the nature of the goods that the truck had, they need to have certain experience. The driver should have known what to do in that instance. Never mind the driver being on the wrong route and all these problems that we have raised as the EFF of having so many trucks with so many inexperienced drivers on the road. We are really shocked by the miscarriage of justice. People came as far as the Eastern Cape to come visit their families, and they are injured. We have infrastructure that is damaged, infrastructure of the city. The city has lost officers. I do not understand to what extent does then SAPS come to the realization that there's no case to be had in this instance. It's really shocking how the lives of people of our country is not taken serious and is not valued by the justice system.
Thank you so much, Councillor Chabenga. Let's speak to Mr. Elton Ngobese. He's the leader of the IFP in the Nkuruleni Council. Mr. Councillor Ngobese, there's not much information about why he was released, and that information coming from the SAPS, not much detail from the NPA either. What do you think?
Well, I think the center is not holding. Subs don't know what NPA is doing. Left does not know what the right is doing. This is a confusion that, it's a setback to the families. I just visited families from Malawi this morning where they lost 4 family members, and really this is a sad day for those victims. And as an IFP, we feel very hard done by this kind of confusion, and it's not fair to those families and those that got injured who are still recovering from hospital. It's very, very unfortunate.
Thank you so much, Alton Gobese there, and a number of other councillors from the EFF and the Democratic Alliance. We'll try to speak to some of those families in a short while. Aaron, it'll be difficult to understand, and at this point we need more information from the SAPS. Of course, we'll venture out to get that information, but it was a short statement, I must say, given off the record by one of the prosecutors. Didn't want to be filmed doing it either. It appears they have no media representation here at this very important case today at the Boksburg Magistrates Court. This is completely unexpected. We'll have to get clarity, get more information, and hear from those who have been directly affected by this tragedy, what they think about it and what their next move will be in their bid to try and get some answers. Remember, they want to know why that truck driver came down that route, why he was in that residential area, and why he didn't stop before going under a bridge, which appeared to clearly be too low for the LP gas tanker to go under. It's back to you.
Govan, thank you. That is a staggering set of developments this morning. I mean, from what you're saying, it's not even clear whether or not a statement was taken by the police from this 32-year-old truck driver. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I heard and from what you're telling us, it doesn't sound like the accused even appeared in court before the whole matter seems to have fallen apart. Is that correct? Do we know if there was ever a case number?
There was a case number registered, but the accused's docket was never transferred to the NPA for prosecution. Before the accused could be taken from the Boksburg police station where he had spent the night in holding cells, his docket was taken to the provincial head of the South African police and reviewed by the head of detectives in Gauteng, who decided that the matter should not be referred to the NPA and be prosecuted, and then took the decision to release this suspect. So yes, this man never appeared in the Boksburg Magistrates Court. We believe that a statement was taken from him when he was held overnight at the Boksburg police station's holding cells. But the discretion whether or not to send the case to the NPA rests with the head of detectives in Gauteng, and we were told here at the Boksburg Magistrates Court that that person, General Kumalo, then decided not to send that docket to the NPA and to release the suspect.
Thank you, Govan. I suppose the other question is whether or not that driver is now a potential flight risk, having been let free by the police. Govan Whittles there at Boksburg Magistrates Court. We will keep tabs on this, and it's very unlikely that will be the end of the road in terms of any legal proceedings related to the deadly gas explosions on the 24th of December in Plantation, Boksburg South. On to this, meanwhile, on that same story, a former employee of the trucking company involved, who says he used to drive a tanker much like the one that exploded, has criticized operational procedures of the firm. Peter Mofokeng, speaking to our reporter Govan Whittles earlier today outside court, raised questions as to why the driver was not rerouted when he went off the official route between Richards Bay and Botswana. Let's take a listen.
We used to work with experience control, I will say that. So that guy is not no more there, because when the owner chases us away, plenty of controllers, they leave the job up until to area manager. He left also. So what I want to know, how it's impossible that the truck will divert from N17 up until Boksburg? Where was the controller? How did he say it? He don't check where the truck is moving up until the truck is go and get the accident, killing people like this. according to my knowledge, the controller that was working with us, when you divert, he will stop you immediately. He will call you and ask you, hey, where are you going? Then you tell him, I just want to buy food here nearer. You cannot just divert the road 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers. Where are you going? When the company fired us on September, because of the labor broker, ISS, this guy was driving oil tank of a subcontract. So for him to drive a LPG today, seeing him on a truck LPG, where did he get the train? How long did he train? Who trained him?
The head of the acute care surgery unit at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, Dr. Rachel Moore, says South Africa has limited acute medical support for those who sustain serious burn wounds.
Burn resources or burn care services don't tend to be up there with like all the latest bells and whistles. In South Africa, we have very few dedicated burn care units. So at Chris Hani Barra, we have a dedicated adult and pediatric burns unit, which is standalone, with its own theatre, with its own ICU, with its own multidisciplinary team. But unfortunately, this is one of very, very few in the country. Yeah. There are other hospitals in Gauteng that provide burn services, but there's not a specialized burns unit outside of Chris Hani Barra. And so what's happening then is that we are scrambling. And so obviously the most critical, the patients who have the best chance of survival with their severe injuries will have gone to Chris Hani Barra. But then Charlotte Maclake obviously has a burn service because they have a level 1 trauma unit. And then the other hospitals in the province do, to varying degrees, have a burn service. But unfortunately, burns doctors, burns surgeons, burns nurses are a rare breed because it is just so tough on the healthcare provider.
Up next, as many are still enjoying festivities for the rest of the year, we get some tips on how to implement and maintain a healthy lifestyle in 2023. Stay tuned. On Chrome. Yeah, this tablet is not happy. Right now, it's completely frozen. I can't open iNews, I can't open Chrome. Ish. Can we get it? Just frozen completely. I don't know if I need to restart it, maybe. Thank you. Maybe we need to... The whole thing. Welcome back. The ANC Electoral Committee says the man who allegedly wrote the letter claiming about vote buying at the party's 55th National Elective Conference has distanced himself from the allegations. The letter, which is addressed to the committee's chair, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, surfaced on Tuesday. It alleged, amongst other issues, that President Cyril Ramaphosa, National Chair Gwede Mantashe, and advisor in the presidency Bajani Chauke either knew of or involved themselves in alleged vote buying during the national conference held at Nasrec earlier this month. Subsequently, the author then asked the committee to disqualify Ramaphosa and Mantashe for their elected positions. But now the man who is said to have penned the letter has distanced itself from it, telling the committee he knows absolutely nothing about it. ANC Electoral Committee Secretary Chief Livuwani Matsila says the matter has now been closed.
We have asked him as the Electoral Committee if he knows who authored the letter without his permission. And his response is that he does not know who has done so. Then we have also then advised him to lay or open a case of fraud in the nearest police station where he stays, so that this matter can be processed further.
Matsile says they've advised Thabang Mdletshe, whose name was attached to that letter, which apparently was shared with the committee via social media, to lay charges of fraud against the actual author.
The benefit of evidence, there's nothing we can do to deal with the demands. Now, especially that those demands are contained in a fraudulent letter. How do you ask people to respond to a fraudulent letter? It will be improper for us to do that. So we'll consider the matter as closed and finally off the table.
The festive season is synonymous with food and feasts, as many tend to go to the limit, enjoying all kinds of treats. And of course, the start of the new year is an opportunity to make resolutions and shed all the weight gained. There can be a scramble to start a new gym routine, begin a new diet, and overhaul one's habits. But how do we start incorporating healthier eating into our everyday lifestyle? Dietitian Clinton Bukasa is going to give us some tips on how to do exactly that. So if you're sitting watching with a bowl of sweets or some Christmas leftovers in front of you, you might want to put them down as we get into the details. Clinton, I trust we do have you on the line. They say that the fact that you might need to have a Christmas or a New Year's resolution is an indication that your lifestyle is already not sustaining healthy habits. How do we begin to right those wrongs?
How are you doing, Aaron? Thanks for having me. Well, I mean, that whole notion of starting all those, healthy habits in January, I mean, it's a tried and tested and failed phenomena. We all know that we've tried that and we all fail all the time. So I think the best time to actually start all those changes is right around now. So yeah, you're exactly right. That we need to start making all those changes right away during this period. I mean, it gives us it's a good opportune time for us to start making all those changes because many of us do have very busy lifestyles, and right now we do sort of have that time, those couple of weeks that we have on our side to make all those changes.
I suppose one of the difficulties is if you get a sort of spurt of inspiration and maybe some guilt after Christmas or even New Year, there can be a rush to make all sorts of dramatic changes that aren't sustainable once the realities of a work routine and life kick in 2023. What do you do with your clients to help sort of gradually make long-lasting changes to diet and exercise? Yeah,
well, I mean, it's gradual, as you just say, but I think, the main, idea is to actually start right away, during this festive period, I mean, take some time to start making small little changes that really do count. For example, sleeping, have some good sleep, because many of the times we use this period to now have all those parties that last all night. And we do know that, a lack of adequate amount of sleep is associated with slow or low metabolism. So it's quite an important thing that we start doing. Start with a simple thing as just sleeping better. Practicing sleep better. This is the time that we tend to have those braais. Many of the times we start speaking about sugar and all those Christmas puddings that you were speaking about earlier on, but we also do tend to braai a lot. We use a lot of, seasoning that contain a lot of salt. And we do know that as well, that, hypertension that we know is associated with that high intake of salt is a silent killer in this country and even globally. So it's quite an important thing that we start making small little changes like that. Start having nutritious, snacks in between, it's quite an important thing, snack better. Now, many of us were at home at this point. Us who are from, rural areas, we do know that there's a lot of, wild fruits and vegetables that we can start making use of right around now. So, yeah, I think it's just about making changes right away.
So you've spoken about the importance of getting proper sleep, also being wary of too much salt and fat with family braais and friend braais over the season. What about alcohol?
Absolutely, you're right. We tend to also binge around this period as well, and we do know that high intake of alcohol is associated with high triglyceride levels, which are risk markers for cardiovascular diseases. We know alcohol is associated with even gout, for example. It can push you into gout and gout attacks, and kidney issues. Liver, we shouldn't forget about the liver as well. So it's not all about, trying to lose weight, but also being mindful of our health as well, because it's quite an important thing, more than even just the weight. Just being healthy is quite an important thing. So starting making all those changes is quite an important thing, to start working on it right away. Because, as January comes in, as you say, it is now a rush, Now work is now on our backs, and now we can't make all those changes. We just then tend to all those convenient foods that we always tend to when things get tougher.
Clinton, starting right away, what would you say if you could wave a magic wand and ensure everyone did these three things? Would you recommend?
Right. I would say, I think, take this period to start learning with meal prepping. As I said to you, many of us have very, very busy lifestyles. And I mean, when the Russian bus does start, we do not even have time to even start, making the food that is healthy. Start, making use of all those practice all those, recipes that allows you to cook, food in advance that you can, make use of in the next coming few days. So that will be the first one. I would say also, you can start making use of those new tracks, the food trackers. There's a lot of food trackers that are there online now that are in terms of good algorithms, which are actually quite close to accuracy. You don't have to make huge changes. You can start by using that, just to have an understanding of how much calories your body requires, and how does that translate to food portions and things like that. That will be the second one. But also, you can drink lots and lots of water. Many of us don't drink water, and we are sitting with high levels, like I said earlier on, about gout. Not drinking water as well can cause some kidney dysfunction and kidney problems as well. So yeah, I think it's a matter of just making small little changes through and through.
Clinton Bakasa there. Those three tips, just a reminder for you. Meal prep, says Clinton. Get one of those food trackers to keep tabs on what's going in, and keep your water levels up. 3 initial steps you can take to get a grip on all of the festivities over this holiday season. That was dietitian Clinton Bakasa. All right, well, coming up next, a reminder of our leading stories, and then we continue to monitor developments in the Northwest, considering that